So many of the questions that we've been asking both you gentlemen were actually harvested, if you would, from social media. And there's a lot of people from the various groups that I view that ask some pretty heavy questions. And one question, as you are the guest, Chief Rambo, I really wanted to ask this particular question of you. Because hate groups seem to be running rampant in this country, yet there are groups out there working to make the lives of our citizens better with nonviolent tactics. Yet sadly, many of these organizations are being painted with the same brush as your most popular hate groups. One such group is Black Lives Matter. From your perspective, do you believe Black Lives Matter is a hate group?
From my perspective and my personal knowledge about Black Lives Matter, I don't believe they're a hate group. I know Patrice. I've met her a number of years ago. Lee Bakken introduced me to her when they were somewhat in the middle. They weren't fledgling, but they were established. Black Lives Matter is also a social justice group, and I think, you know, from law enforcement perspective, from my own perspective, and just having been in, I'm an old man now, I guess, for better. So I'll tell you that, you know, the premise and the concept of it sounds good. By decriminalizing certain things, offering social programs, rehabilitation services. You know, the biggest frustration that we have in the law enforcement community, and particularly with the homeless and the mentally ill, is getting them to participate. The programs are there, and then you have a number of community-based organizations and reentry groups that are not, they can't quantify their outcomes. And part of the reason they can't quantify their outcomes is because the people who participate in the programs, it requires case management and follow-up. So I would love for the programs to work. Some of them work very well, you know. I think that BLM is not a hate group. I think they get hijacked by hate groups. I think there's a perception that they hate police. I don't think they hate police. I think they would like a change in the judicial system as a whole. And I think just like anyone else, whether it be Springle or an Asian person or an African-American person or a Latino person, they just want to be treated fairly by the police and not injured and not railroaded and all these other things. And that doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And I think that's the biggest thing. Will people ever stop fearing law enforcement? I don't know. It's really a challenge. That really is a challenge, because I've heard people say that they fear law enforcement simply because you know, they're pulled over, and I think that's really not a reality that should happen. BLM is not a hate group, but it does get hijacked by hate groups.
Yeah, I must. So one of the biggest challenges I have being a member of this committee and some of the efforts that we're trying to accomplish with this committee is we want to bring unity to this community. And one of the concerns I have, a lot of people, they try to equate the challenges that people have with law enforcement versus the challenges people have with Black Lives Matter and other groups such as that. Too often do we have challenges in our households, we have challenges on our streets, we have challenges wherever we are, whether it be a department store, even inside your law enforcement agency. But every time something happens, Chief Rambo, every time something happens, Captain Springle, who do we call? I don't call my mom. I don't call my cousins. I call the cops. If something happens, someone's trying to break into your house, you call the cops. If someone makes an attempt on your life, you call the cops. So I understand that there's a challenge with how people perceive law enforcement, but there is an intrinsic trust that we have for law enforcement. And because of that, it's important that we do have law enforcement that we not only respect, not because you're wearing a badge or a gun, but we respect because we see you as a person. And it is important to me that we are also seen as people, whether we be black, whether we be brown, whether we be white, yellow, whatever. But I want the public to understand that when something happens, you're going to call law enforcement. Instead of constantly grinding against the machine, we have to have more people working with us to be able to resolve these issues. You cannot have a small body of people and expect everything to be accomplished in a series of a couple of meetings. It requires the entire effort of the entire community to be able to accomplish anything, have any success. I am very thankful that both of you are here. I'm very thankful that you've answered these questions very adequately, I might add. But I would also want the community to understand that this is not just a Q&A session. This is an opportunity for us to understand the perspective of our law enforcement agents and try to get them to understand our perspective as well. If we don't establish a dialogue, we cannot expect to accomplish anything. So with that, I just had to share that. I'm very thankful to both of you.
Thank you.
In the protests and things